welcome to I Scream, You Scream, your weekly scoop of the most chilling histories, mysteries, and true crime. I'm Gina.
I'm Catherine. I almost said I'm Gina. I'm Catherine.
You can borrow my name if you want. I can be Catherine today.
Excellent.
So, as a reminder, every month we choose a new topic of conversation and a new ice cream flavor to go along with it. This month, our flavor of topic is Froggers, aka when someone lives inside your home without your knowledge or consent. Very gross, very icky. And our ice cream flavor is Fish Food by Ben & Jerry's. Yum. So welcome. We're so glad that you're joining us. Grab a spoon and let's dig in.
So I have yet another shout out for Karen.
Mm-hmm.
I told her when I saw her like a couple weeks ago that she is our official first sponsor because I got this insulated bowl. She's trying to alleviate our soupy remains problem. And I will say, so we've been sitting here chatting for a second, and usually there's a significant amount of soup in the bowl. There's some meltage, but overall, it's insulating pretty well.
Damn.
So,
mine's like half melted already.
Yeah, mine's probably mine's probably like a sixth melted.
That's barely any meltage.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
That's a very small fraction of meltiness. So yeah, shout out to Karen, our very first sponsor.
Yay, Karen!
If you are interested in sponsoring Ice Cream You Scream, send us an email at icecreamyouscreampodcast at gmail.com.
Attach an insulated
no, it's not. That's
bowl.
not our email. icecreamyouscreampod@gmail.com.
Yes, that is our email address. Mm-hmm.
So, Gina, do you have anything exciting to talk about?
Ooh, me? Little old me? In fact, I do, Catherine. I have some news.
What
so, as you
effort
know,
do you have?
Every time we record a podcast, we are really annoying about asking for reviews and likes and subscribes and everything else. So we thought maybe we could sweeten the deal a little bit with a little giveaway. Very exciting. Hooray.
Yay!
Yay. So here's the scoop, the skinny, the 411.
Oh, the scoop. That's cute.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to stick with scoop. Here's the scoop. So if you leave a review for Ice Cream, You Scream podcast, which is what you're currently listening to, if you leave a review before the end of November, you have a chance to win a winter solstice survival kit hand packaged by yours truly. Very fun. Ring in the new year with some good vibes and good energy. As far as the specifics go, first and foremost, friends and family are eligible to enter. We're not going to say no if they want to leave us a review, so please feel free. Also, people who are not friends or family, but, you know, are potential friends are welcome to enter as well. So just to make sure we're able to call out who the winner is so we can send you your Winter Solstice Survival Kit, if you leave a written review, please make sure you have a username attached to it that we can use to announce you on social media if you are the winner. If you happen to use a platform that doesn't use usernames in written reviews, somewhere like Spotify, just send us a screenshot of your review just so we know who to contact when it's time for the prize. You can send it via email or you could send it to us as a DM on socials. Either one works for us. Am I missing anything?
When we will announce it.
Oh, yes.
Just when will we know the winner?
When are we announcing it?
We will announce the winner on December 3rd.
December 3rd. Yes. Mm-hmm. And just as like a little, argument for why maybe you should consider doing this episode is going to come out the day before my birthday. So by the time this is in the world, I will be in my last day of my 28th year. So maybe as a little birthday present, you can open Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen and just leave a couple of words. It doesn't have to be, a lie of a review. You can be honest. If we're only a 4-star podcast, you can give us 4 stars. That's fine.
You don't have to give us a 5-star review. Please be honest.
Yeah, if you tell us to choke on our ice cream, we might send you something a little different in the mail. But it probably won't be a winter solstice survival kit. But yeah, it'll be cute. Should we talk about like what comes in a winter solstice survival kit? We don't have to get specific because I want some things to be a surprise. But
yeah, let's give them a little hint.
Okay. Let's see if I can remember any of the things that we said we were going to put in the survival kit. So,
Maybe
some
something
objects. Oh, something ice creamy for sure.
Sorry, some objects.
Well, I was going to say some...
I know you weren't done. It's just like the transition from like, okay, I got it, to objects just was like a perfect like moment. It's perfect.
Just
soundbite.
like
Okay,
a collection of nouns is what's going to be in there. Some objects to help you charge some brilliantly lovely energy into the new year and to ring in 2025 with I don't know, positivity and shit. So yeah.
Yeah. It's just gonna be a fucking great box, okay? Don't worry about what's in it. It's just gonna be baller.
It is gonna be baller.
I don't think they do.
We still say baller, and I think that's enough.
I don't know if I've ever said baller. That's why I ask.
What are the other things that people I feel like I'm thinking like
Liddy
the
in the
era
city?
Liddy in the city. That's a great example. I was thinking brotato chip, but that's not a word for awesome. That's just like the same era that I was thinking of.
Yeah. Going ham. Thebomb.com. Wow,
what's
now
the one
I'm just
that
like
your niece told you? It was like Catherine said not gonna lie, and Catherine's niece was
low key.
Low key. You need to say low key.
So
this is an opportunity.
Niece, yeah, I do need to tell this story because it was just I'm not gonna say cute. I don't want to like God this said, but it was one of those moments of like, wow, I am so old and she is just a brilliant, cool little child. I don't know. She's 12 years old. And not to brag, I do have to say this part. She was giving me a slang quiz. Again, not to brag, but I did ace it. Some of these words were very hard to define. I had to tell her the equivalent of like, when I was your age, this is what that meant, you know? So she was explaining to me, because I say not gonna lie a lot. That is a phrase that I use. Like I'll be talking, I'll just be like, not gonna lie, blah, 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 blah. So I did that while like shortly after this quiz, we were in the car and she goes, see, now this would be an example of an opportunity where you could say low key. I was like, oh, okay.
The way she phrased that is like
such a teacher. Like, and she was all proud. Like, oh, we were just talking about this. I should tell her that this is like what that means, because I was using phrases to define what other phrases meant. So she was like, oh, this is a phrase that has an equivalent now. Like, yeah.
My ice cream has fully melted by now.
Yeah, this bowl is solid. You know what I'm going to use this for instead of ice cream, though, is chili and soup.
That's a great fucking idea.
Yeah. So thanks again, Karen, but not for my ice cream dish. Thank you for my chili bowl. Because this is going to keep it nice and hot, and that's what I'm going to use it for. I mean, I can also use it for this, but this is going to be my chili dish. Oh my god, I was just going to talk about another one of my favorite things, and I also got it from Karen. I promise she's not paying us. Like, I'm not like a weird fangirl. I just like, she keeps coming up. For Christmas, she got me this. It's this mug that sits on a thing, but it's not a heater. It's like a charger. And there's a thing on the bottom of the mug that keeps the mug hot. So you can like take it around with you, and the mug is like heated. It's temperature controlled. And there's a little app on your phone so you can set what temperature you want it to stay at.
Oh my god.
So I just crank it up to the hottest. The battery life is not very long, but it gets me through my first like cup and a half.
That's like the perfect gift for you.
It's my perfect gift. Yeah, because if the coffee does not take off the top layer of the roof of my mouth, it is not hot enough.
She's not kidding, guys. When Catherine and I worked together in an office, we would come in, make a pot of coffee. She would take the fresh coffee from the pot and then put it in the microwave for like 20 more minutes. It was insane.
I would. It didn't get hot. That water didn't get hot.
She was in the emergency room every day with 3rd-degree burns. It was so annoying.
Only in my mouth. Yeah.
Only in your mouth. Yeah. Catherine, I saw something interesting in our episode calendar. It was an episode about Pamela Anderson.
Oh, I was like, what? What'd you say? It's like, what the hell?
This one today. This very episode.
This one. Cool. Yeah. So
I'm fascinated already.
yes, I like don't even know where to start. This woman needs no introduction, but I'm going to give it because pretty much her whole history is very relevant to why everything happened the way it happened. So, as our fearless leader, Gina, has already stated, I will be talking about the frogging case that happened to Pamela Anderson. I just learned about this too, by the way. So,
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know the story at all. I was going to say, not going to lie, but low key,
low key,
I don't really know much about Pamela Anderson. She was a bit before my time. I think it was she was on Baywatch, wasn't she?
Let's jump right in. Okay. So, yes. So, I know so much about Pamela Anderson because, I mean, I was little when she was a huge star, but she was so infamous throughout my whole childhood that to me, it's like, how could anyone not know these stories? But many people probably don't because it's not, like she was like constantly in the media and in the tabloids and all of that when I was young. But if you weren't around for that, like, why would you know? Okay, so let's bring it all the way back. Pamela Anderson, she's a Canadian American actress. So she was born in a small town called Ladysmith, I think is where she's from. She has done a bunch of different stuff. She started off as a model. She's an actress, general media personality. She's an activist. She was really big in PETA, and she is now an author. And recently a Broadway star. Just a couple years ago, she was asked to play Roxy Hart in Chicago on Broadway.
Shut the fuck up. Seriously?
Yeah. So I will be going through her history and everything, but I do recommend, she has a documentary on Netflix that's been out for a couple of years, and they kind of go through her whole story. It's very similar to a memoir that she released a few years ago, which is how I learned about this case, because I had never heard of it before, but she mentions it in the memoir. The memoir is called Love, Pamela. The memoir is really just an expanded version of the documentary. They're kind of the same. So if you don't have much time, watch the documentary. If you have a little bit more time, read or listen to the book. They're basically the same thing. But yeah, so she always dreamed of being famous. She always dreamed of, being a model, being an actress. She wanted to come to America, wanted to go to Hollywood, wanted to be a star. So 1990, she auditions to be a model for Playboy. They end up selecting her to be Playboy's Playmate of the Month in February of 1990. So this is her big break. She's done a little bit of modeling before this, but once she is in Playboy, she just skyrockets. She moves to Hollywood, starts a modeling career, and is basically just immediately known as the hottest woman in the entire galaxy. Small town girl, fresh face, hot bod, like the whole nine. Everything about her was like women wanted to be her, men wanted to be with her type of thing. Her biggest breakout besides Playboy was a role on Baywatch.
Okay.
I couldn't really tell you the synopsis of the show Baywatch other than it's just a bunch of hot babes on the beach running around with a guy named David Hasselhoff watching with a whistle. That's literally the show.
My understanding of Baywatch is like hot people run in slow motion as the camera pans over their body. That's like the whole plot.
Yes. Any time you see someone running slow motion in a swimsuit, that is a throwback to Baywatch.
Love it.
Truly. Yes.
Didn't they do like a Baywatch remake with Zac Efron?
There's so many. Yeah. Yes. I don't remember the specifics. Was it a movie or a show?
I don't know why I brought it up because I don't know anything about it.
It's something. It was one of those shows that throughout the 90s and early 2000s, there were, after the original cast, there were spin-offs and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, that show just absolutely skyrocketed. for obvious reasons. Like, it literally was nothing more than, like, there were technically storylines, but, like, no one cared. Everyone watched that show, though. Like, it was ginormous. Like, I remember I watched that show. I wouldn't, like, sit and be like, I'm like, okay, Baywatch is on, but, like, everyone watched it. Everyone knew about it. So, beyond Baywatch, the thing that I do have to bring up is the Pam and Tommy sex tape. Do you know about this whole thing?
It rings a bell.
Okay. So, see, this is wild to me because this is something that, like, it was so ingrained in popular culture throughout the 90s and 2000s.
You and I are only, like, what, 5 years apart? It's not that far apart.
Yeah, we're not that far apart, but I think because of when our birthdays are, this all happened, like the year you were born.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, or, like, around then.
And I get kids are developmentally, like, there's a big difference between a 5-year-old and a 10-year-old, you know?
Right. And
yeah.
I could remember, there were several things that I could remember, but didn't understand until a decade later. And then I was like, oh, wait, that's what experience. That meant. Yeah, right.
Okay.
Like, I don't remember this news breaking and being like, oh, shit. But I remember, like, throughout my childhood, it was referenced and it was on, you know, Jay Leno talked about it all the time, and it was referenced in The Simpsons, and it was in popular culture that I do remember, you know. Basically, she married Tommy Lee of Motley Crue fame.
Okay.
I laugh because, like, what the fuck? Literally no one gives a shit about Motley Crue. Like, they did in the 90s, but, like, the only song I know about, or know from Motley Crue is the, like, Girls, Girls, Girls one, which very much explains, like, who this guy was. It was just, like, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. They married after knowing each other for 4 days. Yeah.
Ooh, I kind of love that.
So,
in a way that I don't encourage, but I am enchanted by a short-lived, yeah.
I'm just so fascinated by their story. I almost want to do a whole thing just on them, and I'm trying real hard not to because that's not, like, what I'm here to talk about. But it does add context because all of this was so huge in the media. Like, there's this beautiful blonde bombshell that people are already, like, so obsessed with, and this hot rock star just randomly meet in Vegas one day and then end up getting married on a yacht in a bikini 4 days later. It was huge. It was huge.
Incredible.
Huge news. And the reason I reacted strongly to what you said is it feels cheesy to say, but, like, you should watch her documentary. I honestly got a little, not emotional, like, I wasn't sitting there crying, but, like, she's very poetic and very deep and introspective. And, like, that never came through back when all of this was happening. Like, even when I was looking at articles about the case I will be talking about in a little bit, where something, like, really traumatic happened to her, all of these articles started with Pamela Anderson, the busty blonde from Baywatch, like, blah, 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 blah. Like, that's how she was talked about. She was a cartoon character to people. I bring all of this up in response to their romance because the way she talks about it to this day is so poetic and romantic, and it's very, very clear that even though they had this rock star and playboy model relationship, it's very clear that she deeply loved him. Very much. And it's just interesting to see, like, after all these years, and she went through a lot. She was dragged through the media for decades. She still is. Meanwhile, she's, like, this deep, poetic romantic that is just, like, looking for love, basically. So yeah, they were together. They had this whirlwind romance, and like I said, it's really important to, like, understand the way she was portrayed in the media because at a certain point after they had been married for a little while, they had a home video stolen from a safe in their home. And after that got leaked, the way, like, she was basically just a cartoon character from that point on.
And this was the sex tape that got stolen?
This was the sex tape. And the reason I specified that it was just a tape stolen from their home is they did not just make a sex tape. They made home videos with each other. They filmed everything. They recorded everything. Anything from like vacations on the beach to them just having breakfast together. Like it was almost like their own personal, like what we would see as a reality show now. But like before reality shows, like it was just them recording their lives together.
I think
and the
that's
person
sweet.
Yeah, it is sweet. A lot of this footage is very sweet. But the person who stole the tape ripped out all of the sweet parts and just spliced together all of the naked parts.
Oh my gosh.
Like anytime they were naked, they spliced it out and had this tape. So then, the reason this was such a monumental thing is because this is all happening at the exact same time that the internet is becoming accessible to
Ugh.
the average person.
That's not a good mix.
So this was back in the day where you could open a web page, leave the computer room, which is a thing we all actually really had, go up to the kitchen, make yourself a snack, come back, and the page might be loaded by then. So like that was the internet when this was all happening. It was brand new. So when their tape was stolen, they basically like didn't know how widely distributed it would be until it hit the internet, and then like everyone started realizing like, oh, this is a thing that's accessible to everyone. So from that point on, the response was exactly what you would expect. Tommy Lee is like, oh sweet, like you get to bang this hot chick. She is just absolutely mercilessly dragged for being like this whore, this porn star, this
sleeping
that,
with her
whatever.
husband.
For sleeping with her husband in private. Yes.
Yeah.
So basically from that point on, she was just an object, more so than kind of what she already was. And that has always kind of persisted. She fought it, like they took it to court. She was fighting tooth and nail, and at a certain point it was like, okay, I have children to raise, I have a life to live, I can't like spend my life fighting this. So eventually she just kind of embraced it, and she started taking roles and doing things that kind of, I don't want to say played up that image, but she did her best to kind of reclaim it and say like, you know what, I am a big busty bombshell, so like that's who I'll be for you all.
The two things I knew about Pamela Anderson going into this conversation are Baywatch and sex symbol. And I didn't like have any context for those. Like I didn't know that there was a sex tape that she made with her husband. Real quick though, did they have kids? Because you mentioned kids.
They had 2 kids, and she was pregnant with the second when this tape thing happened. So that's part of why. Yes. So that's part of why she chose to back away from fighting it, because like things were stressful and she didn't want to lose the baby. They had already previously had a miscarriage. So she was just like, I can't do this. It's too stressful. So she and Tommy have problems, end up splitting up couple times, but that's a different story. Not a great situation. I'm not going to go into all of that. It was said by both of them that like this was the stress due to the fallout of all of this was a contributing factor. So by the early 2000s, she had kind of, like I said previously, she kind of lost control of her own narrative, and no one was taking her seriously. At this point, she had 2 small children, her sons that I mentioned earlier, and she just would continue carrying this stigma forever. So she started to become a little reclusive, and as she was trying to figure out what came next, and okay, she's not really taken seriously as an actress anymore. What can she do instead? So she starts kind of becoming a little bit more of a recluse, and also at the same time transitioning into more like activism and stuff like that. She was kind of using whatever notoriety she had to like pursue like causes that she was involved with, but she wasn't really trying to, I don't want to say she wasn't trying to make it as an actress anymore, because it's not that she was avoiding stuff like that. She was just trying to like keep to herself, and like she could be this cartoon character out here. Personal life, she was trying to just like chill out a little bit. So she ends up moving to a house in Malibu. And I have never been to Malibu because I have like $3 to my name. But from what I hear, it's like this kind of, I mean, it's obviously exclusive, but it's just sort of this serene seaside area of Southern California where celebrities go when they don't want to be celebrities 24/7 anymore, but they do need to be like commuters distance to Hollywood. Basically, that's my understanding of Malibu. So she's got this house, very private, very secluded, and she's living there. I think at this time, I don't know if she and Tommy had joint custody of the kids, or if he just had, like, I don't know what type of custody rights he had, but they were with Pamela most of the time. Like, she
Do you
had
know
them
how, like,
usually.
rough age-ish? Like, are we
They
talking
were
toddlers?
tiny. They were,
okay.
yeah, they were toddlers. Yeah. They were not
Okay,
more than like 5-ish. Yeah.
All
Toddlers or small child. And they were very close. Like, she had 2 babies at one time, basically. Like, I think they were only like a year or 2 apart. Yeah. So now, here we are. That's the background. February 17th, 2001, Pamela, I believe she was in the kitchen. I'm not exactly sure where she was in the house, but she looked out the window and she saw a woman in her yard. And she didn't know her. It wasn't anyone in staff. It wasn't security or anything like that. So she immediately calls the police. But by the time they get there, this woman had fled. And they searched around, they looked at the property high and low, and they couldn't find her anywhere. So they assumed that it was just someone was trying to peek in, like maybe it was a paparazzi or something that got a little too ballsy. And like when she called the police, they fled or something. I think
that's
like
reasonable. Like that, I don't blame them for thinking that.
Yeah, and it wasn't like they weren't taking it seriously. It was just like, okay, they did their due diligence and could not find this person, and she wasn't exactly sure. Like, maybe it was a paparazzi that, like, I've seen them before, but I just, couldn't see them that well or something. I don't know. Like, she was just like, all right, whatever. But then in the weeks after this happened, it is noted, and she said, multiple times on like interviews and stuff, that she started to notice that her bread was going missing.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
And she chalked it up to, like, she's just stressed. She's got these 2 small kids. Like, there's a lot going on in her life. At this time, I don't know exactly when her mom's health wasn't good, but around this time, I think her mom was sick. So she just had like a lot going on. She supported a lot of the people in her family, both financially and emotionally and stuff like that. She just had a lot of eggs in a lot of different baskets,
Oh, poor
So
Pam.
she kind of chalked it up to just, okay, like, I've been overworked. I'm doing a lot. I'm just like going crazy, basically. I need to like take a few breaths. It's also, again, she had 2 small kids. So like they could also have been, there were just a lot of explanations for that happening, basically.
Yeah.
So she, again, wasn't really worried about it. But then a few days after she started noticing the bread was going missing, she noticed that she started missing clothing as well. Like, I think she said that a jacket had gone missing. And it was one of those things where, like, this is the thing she grabs when she's on the way out the door. It wasn't like, a red carpet piece. But again, just kind of chalked it up to being stressed, etc., etc. So she keeps noticing these things. She keeps questioning herself. She keeps chalking it up to like, oh, you're just going nuts. Then a few weeks after the initial encounter on March 4th, Pamela's mom, so she's in the hospital now. Again, I couldn't find what for, but I do know she had like shaky health for a little while. But her mom's in the hospital, and she was having a few family members stay with her, and she was in one of her guest rooms making up the bed for her father to stay there when a member of her team comes into the room and tells her that there is a woman in another one of her guest rooms sleeping in the bed. And she's confused. She immediately is like, that doesn't make sense. She starts thinking, okay, maybe it's her brother's wife. Maybe she showed up and didn't know she was there, or she couldn't figure out like what they were saying. You know what I mean? She couldn't.
Yeah.
Her brain couldn't go there. Like, what do you mean that there's a freaking person in my bed?
And you just try to find an explanation.
Something has to make sense. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, this has to have something that makes sense.
There
and
can't
again,
just be a rando sleeping on my guest room bed.
Right. And she's been questioning things and feeling like she's going crazy the last several weeks. So now she's like, okay, what the fuck does that mean? You know what I mean? So she's just trying to figure it out. Finally, whoever this like assistant or whoever it was takes her back to the room, and she sees the woman who was in her yard just a few weeks prior. It was maybe like 2.5 weeks.
Did she like recognize her as being the chick from the yard, or was she? Because I don't imagine she might not have gotten a really good look.
I don't think she looked at her and was like, "Hey, it's you,"
Okay.
but like she realized within whatever moments of shock that oh my god, that was you. That was in my yard.
In the guest room. That is I mean, any frogging incident is like, how dare you? But that is fuck you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, not even. Okay.
Oh my god. You. Okay.
So she comes into the room. This woman is, like I said, she was found lying in this bed. She gets up and she's wearing the swimsuit from Baywatch.
Oh my god!
Yeah. Can you imagine? Like someone being in your house is enough, but in your bed,
in my fucking swimsuit,
in your swimsuit, this woman had cut her wrists with glass. She broke something glass in the room and was like,
it was intentional?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so there were some mental health challenges going on.
Yes. And she's speaking French. So this woman is not, like, she does not speak English. So she's speaking to Pamela and she doesn't know what's going on. Like, she's just like, what the fuck? Like, the scene is absolute chaos. She's in the bed wearing the swimsuit with slit wrists, speaking French. Pamela's just like, what is happening?
Did I just do some really bad acid? What the fuck is this?
Like, the scene is chaotic. Yeah. So she hands Pamela a note, and it was unclear whether it was written in English or if it was written in French and then translated for her later. But the note said, quote, "I am not a lesbian, but I dream of you."
That wouldn't make me feel any better.
Does that not make you feel worse? Like, what does that mean? Why would you write that to me? Why are you in my bed?
Yeah.
So uncomfortable.
Did she write it? Was it like pre-written, or did she write it in a way to try and communicate?
I believe it was pre-written. I'm not 100% positive.
I was just curious.
Yeah, it was hard. Yeah.
I'm legit struggling to piece these. I cannot
that's why
hold
I
all
keep
of that
pausing,
in my mind.
It sounds so fake.
That's insane.
And so,
oh my god.
Yes. And I'll get back to the scene, like, present time in the story in a second, but this is one of those situations that, like, in real life, this is such a scary situation.
Yeah.
But in, like, when she would talk about it in interviews and stuff, she kind of, it was almost like the, like, Boy Jones situation, how there was at one point in that story where I said, like, you keep saying very scary things and yet there's like a comedic beat to it. This is kind of how she would handle it in interviews moving forward, because of how she was viewed as such a character. And then all of a sudden she finds someone in her bed wearing her swimsuit, having stolen her bread and jacket. Like, that's a ridiculous thing. So she kind of approached it like, oh, ha ha ha, there's this crazy chick in my house who was stealing my food. LOL, like, crowd goes wild.
Yeah.
But, like, this is a traumatic thing. There is a woman, like, who has, like, appeared to have gone off the deep end in her home where her children are. Who knows how long she's been there. In the spirit of what I just said, back to the story, she, like, grabs her kids and they basically get the fuck out of there. Someone calls the police. They get there. This woman is detained. The police ask if she wants her swimsuit back, and she's like, no, I'm good.
Nah, you can keep
Get this
that
out of my house. Like,
Yeah.
just get out of here. So we find out this woman's name is Christine Roth, and she had flown in from France a few months prior to Pamela first seeing her in February. I couldn't find the exact date, but it seems like she flew in around like November. She had met a man named, I think, Steve Van Bergen, I think was his name. And it seems like she met him just randomly, and they met at like a restaurant or something, I think shortly after she flew into town. But he would later say that she had previously attempted to get into Pamela's house, like literally tried to break in, and was confiding in him about this, like saying she came here to see Pamela.
Shit.
And has been like trying to get into her house
Okay,
so
because
that
I
she
was
could
thinking
meet her.
like maybe she's just breaking into houses. Maybe it's not like a Pamela Anderson centered thing. But holy shit,
No,
never mind. I take that back.
She flew in from France to try to meet Pamela. Yes.
Ooh, that's scary.
Yeah.
I mean, all of this is scary.
He said, yeah. So the reason I bring him up is because he was talking to reporters about this because they were trying to, find out more about this woman who was found in Pamela Anderson's bedroom or guest bedroom or wherever she was. And he said that she told him that she just wanted to meet Pamela. All she wanted was to like be able to meet her and tell her that she was like a fan of her work and that she loves her so much and blah 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 blah. She brought her chocolates from France that she wanted to give to Pamela. Again, I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because like we can see like her brain is like not in a healthy spot. So he went with her to Pamela's house at one point because Christine told him that she just wanted to see the house. She kind of made it seem like how people go on those like celebrity home tours, which I think is very creepy. Like,
I think it's weird.
I've like been on architecture tours and stuff like that. I really love those, but like I feel weird when people like bus to and from like people's actual houses where they actually live. I feel like that's a little bit across the line.
I wouldn't like if people were outside my house looking in my windows. It would make me uncomfortable. If I couldn't go outside to like take the bins or like the garbage cans out.
Yeah.
Which Tom does that anyway, but you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't.
I was like, wow, you do that?
No, I don't fucking do that.
Of course not. Take out the trash.
Actually, I think I did it once, like a couple of weeks ago when Tom was gone. But I'm a very strong woman.
Say I do that. Phil thinks I don't, but I do. Anyway. Yeah, she was making it seem like that. Like, I'm a big fan of this person. I just want to go see where she lives, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And this guy said that he had to physically drag her away from this house. Like, red flag.
That's interesting because she wants to meet Pamela so bad, but she hid from her in her house and didn't try to. She was discovered. She didn't, like, go say hello or anything.
Like, what was the game plan? Right.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's booked. She's, like, in jail now, and she was charged with trespassing and stalking. Both sound very appropriate to me. Mm-hmm. She pled guilty to trespassing, but ultimately the stalking charge needed to be dropped due to insufficient evidence.
What?
Yes. So apparently being in someone's home unannounced is not enough evidence that you're stalking someone. Trespassing, yes. It was clear that she entered onto this property without Pamela's permission or knowledge, which is trespassing. But stalking, the only evidence that they had that she was on the vicinity or following, I'm doing air quotes because this was not explicitly said, but like following Pamela for any length of time was the fact that bread was missing and her jacket was missing. And that's not enough to prove that she was on the premises because it technically could have been the kids, could have been an assistant, it could have been any number of things. Wanting to like stay at someone's home an odd length of time and needing to be dragged away is also not proof that she was actively following her. And she didn't get a good enough look at the person who was in her yard previously. She kind of could only surmise, yes, I saw a woman in my yard and then this happened. This must be her. But there was no, like, they didn't see her on camera. There were no other witnesses. Like, it just wasn't enough to, like, legally press charges against it.
I do get that. Like, I see I don't like it. Let me be
Right.
very clear about that. I do not like
know.
it. But I see the legal.
You get it.
Yeah, I see it.
From a beyond a shadow of a doubt
Yeah.
perspective, like, there is, like, yeah.
I can see how someone could poke holes in that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. They just couldn't prove it. You know, they just didn't have enough evidence, concrete, to, like, have a formal whatever charge against her. But trespassing, yes.
Do we find out? You might cover this later, and if you do, you can totally ignore this. Do we find out how long she was actually there?
So, not concretely. Like, they do suspect that she, like, that was what her team was trying to prove, the timeline of everything. Because she went missing so fast when the police came or whatever that first time, they do suspect that the reason they couldn't find her on the property was because she was in the house. You know what I mean?
Did you say it was like a week or two? 2 weeks?
2 weeks, yeah.
Jeez.
So, but they don't know. They don't know that she was there the whole time. They were kind of like, oh, we don't know where she went. We don't know why we can't find her. She did state that she got into the house through, so where she was had a separate entrance. So it may not have been a guest room. It may have been like a guest house or something. It had a separate entrance, and she said she just got in through that, like, back door or separate entrance or whatever it was. So when she fled, they suspect that she fled, like, into whatever structure that was and was just there the whole time. They couldn't prove that. They can't say for sure that that is what happened, but based on the little evidence they could find, that is what
I think it's a reasonable jump to make. I mean, that's what,
particularly, again, because, like, they like couldn't find her after such a short amount of time. They do think that she was there. And if it was a guest house, like, that would be an easy thing to
and you wouldn't notice if it's a completely separate building or wing. Like, you're not gonna be there every day in the room, you know.
Right.
Oh, creepy, gross. Ew. All right.
Yeah. So again, she pled guilty to the trespassing charge, and, like, obviously admitted that it happened. Like, she was caught literally red-handed. And so she was ordered to go back to France, obviously, and then once there, she was required to go through counseling and get therapy,
like the Mauricio.
Yes.
I think that's very reasonable for this.
And she didn't get
Christine. You said
Christine.
Christine.
I don't think that she didn't get any jail time. She was just deported and needed therapy. And she was told that, well, basically she's prohibited from ever entering the United States again. If she does enter the US, like, if that's ever lifted or whatever, she ever comes back for whatever reason, she basically has a restraining order against her from Pamela. So Pamela no longer lives in Malibu. She stayed there for many years. This did not, like, scare her away. But she did end up selling the house in 2021, and she now lives back in Canada. I believe she lives in the house that she grew up in, if I remember correctly. She lives there. Yeah, I don't know if she lives there with her mom or if her mom lives, like, somewhere. I don't know, but I do believe she lives, or maybe there might be multiple houses on the property. She has got, like, a lot of property.
Okay.
Basically, she's now living super quiet, kind of, I don't want to say reclusive because she's still doing stuff. Like I said, she was just on Broadway a couple years ago. She made that documentary. She's writing. But yeah, she is living her best cottagecore life. She spends her day like gardening, writing, she's got a cookbook out. And yeah, she's just vibing up in
Multifaceted.
Canada. Yeah. So that's Pamela
Okay.
Anderson. Yeah.
Damn.
This is such a, how do I explain this? This feels like such a big thing. And the fact that it's such a small part of her story is so fascinating. And another thing I find fascinating is this happens a surprising amount, but also maybe not that surprising to celebrities. Like there have been a lot of celebrities that have experienced things similar to this. And I'm like, that doesn't surprise me because people get obsessed and fanatic, and it makes sense that this would happen. But at the same time, I'm like, man, don't all these people have like world-class security systems and like people, literal doormen, like that kind of stuff? Like, they're all in freaking gated communities. Like, on the one hand, I get how it happens because of how like nutso people can go over a celebrity they like so much. But at the same time, I'm like, man, it still surprises me that there are so many celebrities who've experienced this.
Yeah. But I guess when if you're obsessing over it and you have the time to just sit and wait for someone to slip up, or for a door to be left unguarded, or for the shifts to change, or whatever, you could dig a hole under the house or something. God. And to your point, like, I mean, I don't know. I don't know a whole lot about Pamela Anderson, so I really don't want to insert my own opinions into like a life that I admittedly don't know very much about. But it seems like she almost wasn't allowed to fully and publicly experience the trauma of this, and it seems like she was kind of
totally
forced to play it off as kind of just another funny anecdote from Pam. Like
100%.
That would fuck me up for life.
Yeah. I mean, even the articles that were written about it, like I said previously, about the way she is talked about in these articles is very just like, why do you need to mention her breast size when you're talking about a stalker slitting her wrists in her guest room?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? Also, I just realized in this moment just now that our first 3 Frogger episodes have been about people who like lose control of their senses over a very beautiful and popular woman.
Yeah. Oh, that's unsettling.
Even Boy Jones wasn't Queen Victoria.
It was all Queen Victoria.
Like his whole,
yeah. But you know what? I am gonna flip that around next week. Not to spoil anything, but it doesn't follow the same kind of pattern.
Well, thank God, because I just started like, I'm sweating a little bit at that realization.
Yeah, that made my stomach turn a little.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just realized that. Now we're gonna
Haven't
get
women
all
been through
quiet.
enough?
Yeah, because we have a lot to say.
Oh,
that's the story.
So this was, when did you say this took place? Early 2000s?
2001.
2000. Yeah, okay,
2001.
So it's been some time. I hope she has healed as much as you can heal from something like this, and also from the way that society treated her for way too long.
I think part of the reason this is not a widely known story is because it's just such a small part of all the trauma she's experienced. You know?
Yeah. This has inspired me, though. I do want to go watch that documentary now. And
if you want to be inspired, you should watch that documentary. Not to be cheesy, I am going to sound like I'm like an infomercial for Pam Anderson for a second, but she said some inspiring AF shit in that documentary that is part of why I was like, why don't we just start this podcast?
Okay, well, shit. Now like I have to watch it.
It's an inspiring watch. Like, she has such a beautiful look on like life. Like, I think she looks at life in such a lovely way, and in a very similar, I'll put it this way, she looks at life very similarly as me. But
I'll love it then.
Yeah, I'm very I definitely like should be a little bit more jaded than I am. But It's amazing to me that, because if I was in her position, I wouldn't look at life so positively. I would be like in a hole somewhere. But she seems to not have let everything she experienced color her decisions, or like I would be much more afraid to live my life if I were her. And maybe she is, and she's just doing it anyway, which if that's the case, I respect her even more.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. I just love women so much.
Me too. I love women too.
I love women. We're just, women are incredible.
I know. It's just great. Yeah.
Yeah. Except for, well, Christine, I'm sure is lovely, but she had some issues to fix, and she did some things that were not okay.
Hopefully she's better. Hopefully she did well in therapy. There really was not much on her. I looked high and low. This was an interesting experience for me because due to how famous Pamela Anderson is, I felt like there should be a lot more accessible information. Yeah. But I mean, there is a lot on it, but they're all articles. A lot of like tabloids, a lot of, I found, the most reputable. All the information I have in here was from like, ABC, BBC, news organizations that I'm like, all right, they probably have real information. But there was so much on websites that I'm like, man, my computer probably has a virus now. But I couldn't find actual court case documents or anything like that. Like that was very difficult to find. And any information on this Christine woman was very difficult to find. I did find a little bit, but not as much as I would expect.
This is me completely speculating and talking out of my ass. I wonder if there was a PR team involved in burying some of those details.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm sure there was. Yeah.
I'm sure they don't want some of it accessible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I'm sure that was.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Well, that's the story of Pamela Anderson's Frogger.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for teaching me about Pamela Anderson.
You're welcome. I am one of those people that I have like a fascination with like the whole like Playboy era of the 90s.
Oh, we have to do at least an episode on that at some point.
We could do a flavor. There's so much.
I think we should. We should add that to our spreadsheet.
Drama with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I am. I wasn't one of those people. I never had like, do you remember when like the Playboy bunny was a like fashion statement?
It was massive. Yes. Then? Yeah. So I was cognizant. I was a sentient being, but I didn't really understand but it was like weird because it was, I didn't really understand where it came from, but it was also at the same time where like, I mean, just from my perspective, I was told that being blonde made you an idiot and made you worth like things like that.
Blonde hair, blue-eyed Gina baby.
Yeah, it was a weird combination of like we're glorifying a symbol of like women in a sexual context, but also if you fit our definition of a quote unquote hot woman, you are garbage. And I remember being very confused.
To the 90s. Welcome to the 90s and early 2000s.
I remember it not making sense to me.
Yeah. Yep, that's pretty much, if you could sum up that time period, that's exactly what it was. So, I was not like, I didn't have any Playboy bunny apparel, but from like it's going to make me sound like such a fucking douchebag. But I was like interested in like basically what you just said. Like all of these women are talking about feeling very empowered, and this like every single woman who talks about being in Playboy, particularly from that era, has talked about it from a very empowering, like owning your own body, like living your own life, making your own money standpoint. And then other people are like consuming this media unapologetically, but then also degrading and disrespecting these women. So it's like, which one is it? You're supporting them by consuming this media, but you're also giving them shit for making this media. Like, Catherine, what is that?
Surely you're not insinuating there are double standards.
Oh my God, surely Gina, no. I would never. Who, me? A double standard. There's only one standard. It's set by men. Hello, welcome.
There's only one
to I Scream, You Scream.
Your weekly scoop of feminine rage.
Right? We can never talk about
Yeah.
Froggers again. Are you kidding?
I know,
hate this
seriously.
one so
This
much.
was rough.
Ugh.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I'm struggling.
I have a lot of feelings about the story you just told me, but I am struggling to articulate them, and I just kind of feel a little bit angry.
I never want to talk about
I think it's
Froggers ever
okay.
again. I know. I'll listen to you next
This
week,
was a
but after
tough-
that, I'm done.
This was a tough month, I think, all around. It's a
We're
tough
not done
topic
yet, yeah.
because it's fucking scary. Like
Mhm.
it's vampires
Well,
are
it's very
scary, but they're
invasive.
scary. Yeah, it's scary in a
Yeah.
different way. Froggers is invasive and it's categorically real. You know,
Mhm.
vampires, you know, some believe, some don't. Frogging is absolutely real and it is objectively horrifying and so traumatic. It's tough.
Yeah. So yeah,
Oh, yeah.
please remember that we have a giveaway coming up. We really would love for you to enter by giving us a review, and then just let us know whenever you do so we can enter you in. Oh, one thing I don't know if we said before, if you have already left us a review, you are already entered.
Oh, yeah,
We
I did
have
forget
your
to
name
say
written
that.
down.
Yeah.
But if you've given us just a rating, you are not, because we cannot see your name. So if you've already given us 5 stars, I know a few of you have, and we appreciate it very much, please send us a screenshot.
Yeah, and I we should also probably point out that it's by the end of November 2024, because I know podcasts are
Oh my God, yes.
they last after
Yeah,
you
someone's
publish
gonna-
them. Yeah, you can go back and listen later. So just
Oh my
to
God, that's so funny.
just to point that out, it's November 2024. That's the
Oh my God,
reality
good
we're
point.
in now, and it's awful. So I hope whenever you're listening to this, it's much better.
Hope it's better.
Yeah.
Hope everything's fine. Woohoo! All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Great. Good job. Thank you so much for putting that together. That was a really well told story. And thank you for educating me about Pamela Anderson.
You're welcome. We all should be. I will be putting together a masterclass. It will be available for $47,000. And
I will
like
take
and
out a
subscribe.
loan to pay that.
Like and
I will
subscribe to
do
be
it.
registered for that masterclass.
Love it. All right. Until next time, little spoons, keep it cool.
And keep it creepy.